Around 6 million years ago, chimps and hominins first began to diverge from one another. Hominin refers to any species on the path to becoming human, even those that went extinct later. So, who exactly were the first humans? When chimps and hominins began to diverge, our ancestors emerged from the trees and began to wander around on the ground. We don't know why they did this, but it could have been due to the advent of an ice age, and they needed to be mobile. It could have been rivalry for limited resources, or it could have been the very human urge for change. The oldest undeniable fossil evidence for a hominin comes from East Africa and dates back 3 to 4 million years. It is known as Australopithecus afarensis. Australopithecus translates a southern, from the Latin, ape, from the Greek, which isn't quite rational. The name afarensis comes from the fact that the most extensive remains of this species were discovered in Ethiopia's Afar region, near Hadar. So, in a genuine sense, we all came from Africa. Lucy, a fossil skeleton of Australopithecus afarensis, is the most well-known example. Lucy is an adult who was discovered in Hadar, Ethiopia. Her tiny stature, she's only 3 feet 7 inches, 1.1 meters, tall, leads to the assumption that she's a female. To commemorate their discovery, Donald Johanson and his colleagues, who dug her up, sang the Beatles' song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds over and over again. Johanson believed that Lucy is the missing link between apes and humans, but we don't know for sure. In fact, the missing link remains undiscovered. The oldest traces of hominin footprints were discovered in Tanzania at a location known as Laitoli. They suggest that Australopithecus afarensis could walk erect. The 2 hominins that left the footprints are depicted in a diorama at the American Museum of Natural History in New York, the male with his arm protectively draped over the female's shoulder. It's really moving, and it could be the earliest evidence of what anthropologists term pair bonding, although to be fair, it's merely an artist's impression. Lucy and her Australopithecine family lived on Earth for around 3 million years. Around 1.8 million years ago, a new form of hominid named Homo erectus, standing man, appeared in Africa, Indonesia, and China, the first progenitor in the Homo lineage that leads inexorably to Homo sapiens, thinking man, or us. According to Bill Bryson, Homo erectus was the first to hunt, the first to use fire, the first to fashion complex tools, the first to leave evidence of campsites, the first to care for the weak and the frail. We also know they looked after the weak and frail because a skeleton of a girl with a paralyzing ailment who had lived with the disease for weeks, probably months, was discovered. Someone had looked after her for 1 million years. Our forefathers exemplified the virtue of compassion. Evidence of a species of diminutive humans, real-life hobbits, as they are charmingly known, also comes from Indonesia. The hobbits are known as Homo floresiensis, after the small island of Flores, where a skull and partial skeleton were discovered in a cave in 2004. They first appeared around 80,000 to 100,000 years ago. They were around 3 feet tall and had little brains, about the size of an orange, but they were capable of producing very sophisticated tools. Species confined on small islands frequently tend to be little as a result of needing to adapt to the limited resources available to them, hence their petite size is almost certainly owing to natural selection. To begin, we must recognize that using and creating tools is not limited to humans. We share these traits with chimps, as found by British researcher Jane Goodall 50 years ago, and with members of the crow family, who utilize twigs as tools and even break them to size. Nonetheless, the creation of tools represents a significant step in human evolution. It marks the beginnings of technological reasoning. So far, the earliest stone tools discovered have come from Tanzania and Ethiopia. A stone cutting tool from Tanzania's Olduvai Gorge, part of the Great Rift Valley in East Africa, is one of the very first constructed tools. It is thought to be around 2 million years old. It can be dated back that far because it was extracted from a layer of rock that originated that long ago. However, if you were an early hominid, you would not have hunted. You would have eaten the meat of other animals. You'd have used the stone chopper to remove the flesh from the carcass, particularly the bone marrow, which has the most nutrients. The time elapsed between separation from chimps and the appearance of the first known hominins, followed by the time it took early humans to develop sophisticated thought, demonstrates that evolution is a slow process. Between 4 million and 80,000 years ago, early humans existed. They were already standing and walking erect, showing evidence of compassion and caring for one another, and manufacturing and utilizing primitive tools. The Homo erectus was comparable to us in many ways, but there were still some critical evolutionary leaps left until the birth of modern humans. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel.